Conference season has started and something is happening. In-person events are making a comeback. I love virtual conferences. They allow us to geek out with everyone around the world. But in-person events have a little something extra that is very difficult to almost impossible to replicate online. Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment below. What is this event I'm talking about? Well, it is the one and only biggest open source. Okay, this is me, so you knew it was going to be open source. I mean, that's no surprise. It is the biggest open source database conference in the world, Percona Live. Percona Live is a 3-day event on May the 16th to the 18th, which will be held at AT&T Hotel Conference Center in Austin, Texas. It includes keynotes, educational sessions, hands-on activities, and a coffee track. The technologies covered in this event includes Postgres, Mongo, MySQL, Kubernetes, to name a few. And these technologies are the backbone of the apps that we build today that power the internet. Why are in-person conferences so important? It's a great way to learn. And yes, I know you can do that online too, but when you do it online, you can get distracted quite easily. Whereas when you're there in person, you're laser focused in the zone. Plus you get to meet people and build strong connections really quickly. Now I know you're thinking, well, what is Percona Live event about? Let's take a look at the schedule. Monday starts with 8 talks. Yes, 8. So you'll definitely find something you like. I can see more than one that's caught my attention immediately. For example, 12 things developers should know about databases and Cloud Native MongoDB 101 tutorial. Let's go and read the descriptions and see if we can make a decision. 12 things developers should know about databases is going to cover how the database operates and bottlenecks, performance, query tuning, scalability, security, and so much more. Now let's look at Cloud Native MongoDB 101 tutorial. It's going to cover deploying a shared MongoDB cluster from scratch, configuring the cluster according to your needs, connecting to the cluster, scaling up and out, backups and restores, monitoring and observability, upgrades. This one will be hands-on with Percona's distribution for MongoDB operator in a dedicated environment. As you can see behind me, there is so much going on, which is a good problem to have. I won't go through the whole list of talks as this video would be many hours long, but I'd like to mention a few that really interest me personally. Key open source database strategies that shape 2022 by Peter Zaitsev, the CEO of Percona, where Peter will talk about the exciting year in the open source databases, with more choices, more cloud, and key changes in the industry. Peter will dive into the key developments over 2022, and also how is open source shaping up to survive and thrive in the roaring 20s by Amanda Brock, the CEO of Open UK. Amanda will talk about why does it matter that open source is not a business model? Why is open source open to use for any purpose by anyone? How do our governments adopt secure open source? Percona recently launched the Percona platform, and from what I understand, it's going to make our lives easier in terms of database management and monitoring. Donnie Burkholz will be covering this in his keynote, as well as the next few years of Percona products. Other topics include performance, monitoring, latest features. Which talk topics or talks are you interested in? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. What are these technologies I mentioned earlier that will be discussed in detail at the conference? Postgres and MySQL are structured databases, which are made up of collections of tables that store a specific set of structured data. A table contains a collection of rows, also referred to as records, and each row has the columns of that table. Each column in the table is designed to store a certain type of information, for example, dates, strings, and numbers. It can also store a reference to another table, also known as a foreign key. This is used to create relationships between tables. For example, a user can have many blog posts, but each blog post can only have one single user. This is known as a one-to-many relationship. SQL is a query language that is used to create queries to read and write data from a database. Another type of database is Mongo. Mongo stores unstructured data using JSON, meaning fields can vary from document to document and data structure can change over time. Data are stored in documents, and documents are stored in collections. To compare the technologies between SQL and NoSQL, let's clarify what NoSQL and SQL stand for. SQL is structured query language, and NoSQL is not only SQL. So let's compare the two. In SQL, we use a table, and in NoSQL, it is called a collection. In SQL, we use a row. In NoSQL, it's called a document. We mentioned Kubernetes. Kubernetes, also known as K8, which is a container orchestration system. Kubernetes provides you with a framework to run distributed systems resiliently. For example, when one container goes down, another one can take its place. This works very well for deployment too. Let's conclude. Nothing will replace in-person events. They're a great way to learn and really connect with people on a personal level. Don't miss out on Percona Live 2022. This is a great open source in-person event. If you're going, make sure you register on their Eventbrite page. Link in description below.